everybody. Welcome to In This Corner, the podcast of Buck 82. Now, normally I say here, boxing's biggest names, boxing's biggest stories, boxing's biggest fights, greatest memories and moments. And we're going to change that a little bit, not only for today, but moving forward. And we'll get into it. But before I get into it, let me bring in the boxing writer, and that hasn't changed. CompuBox
Right.
counter, that hasn't changed.
Thank God.
Author, that hasn't changed. Historian, and what the hell did he call himself last week? What was his nickname?
You called me the Grovester for some reason.
No. I mean, there was something, the Menace, the Red Menace.
Oh, the Red Menace. That's what
I
I
like,
call myself.
yeah, and I like Dennis the Menace better. But anyway, Lee Groves is with us. How you doing, Lee?
Doing well. How about you?
Good. And kind of excited about today's special guest, Orlando Canizales, Hall of Famer. I think one of the great bantamweights, I think, of all time. I
Mhm.
respect him that much. We'll get into him. Before we do that, though, we're going to do some recaps, no
Yep.
previews. But I wanted to talk about why we're changing the direction and getting away from boxing's biggest stories. Because if we were doing boxing's biggest stories, for example, today,
Mhm.
I would probably have to call the paramedics to get me with all the crazy stuff that's going on, whether it be something with that we will talk about with Ryan Garcia, or whether we would go into Zuffa boxing and Conor Benn, and now Andy Ruiz signing with them, whether we would talk about Mayweather, an exhibition with Provodnikov, or now I think Manny, an exhibition with Provodnikov,
Yep.
and Mayweather, a real fight two with Manny Pacquiao, the rematch. How many years later?
Yeah.
As
11.
yeah, and there's so much going on, and the way we try to do the show, we only do it at this point once a week. Whatever that change, it would depend, but I kind of want to leave all that kind of stuff to the guys that just go on randomly and just talk about whatever the sensational story in their mind is, or whatever, and really what it boils down to, even with the guys that are pretty good at it, it really boils down to what gets them clicks, what gets them the most interest, what gets them the most hits. And I think what I want to do is separate, the boxing wheat from the chaff, so to speak. You've heard that saying. I think you've used it on this show before.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and in other words, focus on really what we do best. And we are, and everybody can put out a little thing, but unequivocally, we're the best with the interviews, we're the best with the history, and we're the best at breaking down the fights when we have our panel on with us. And we will continue to do those things, but actually put more emphasis on those.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say for real boxing fans and put anybody down, but for people who really care and have an interest in what the sport, to me and to you and to what most of the people we came up with, really recognize as boxing. I guess we call it real boxing. You've used the term big top boxing, versus
Big
real
time.
boxing.
Big
Yeah,
time. Big time versus big
yeah,
top.
and not even big time with us. We just want to cover its rich history and
Yeah.
talk about what's real and what makes sense. Things in life change, but one of my greatest things that I was in a tiny way involved in and still care about was the 1972 Miami Dolphins, football's only unbeaten team. And although football has changed so much, there's more games in the regular season, the players are bigger, stronger, faster. I still think football, the National Football League, is what it was. Maybe we can't say that about college sports anymore, but with the NFL, we can. And so I just want to keep it real and do what I'm true to. And so that's what we're going to focus on now. Sorry for that monologue, everybody, but it's not really getting away from much because typically on what we call or what they call boxing's biggest stories, I was always poo-pooing most of those stories because that's where most of them belong in that category. Having said that, um, one thing I do, and we will do this definitely when it's merited, warranted, whatever, and that is the fight card that took place on Saturday here in Las Vegas. Finally, after 75 tries, Ryan Garcia wins a world title
Mhm.
over Mario Barrios, who looked like he was the Walking Dead, even on the way into the ring, let alone during the 12 rounds. And the undercard was pretty good, so I flip it to you.
Well, as those of you who watched the show last week saw that I made a tornado warning prediction, meaning that the conditions were there for an upset to
There were
happen.
so many blizzards getting ready to take place. I'm making an excuse for Lee. There were so many blizzards going on. Lee got a little confused, but go ahead.
Well, Brian Garcia was a minus more than a 2-1 favorite, and I picked Barrios for the reasons that I detailed last week. First of all, I wasn't the only one who picked Barrios to win, and all of us who did made that pick because we just based our predictions on what we were seeing, what we had seen before. That's all the information that we had going into the fight. But in the ring last Saturday, Ryan Garcia did the exact opposite of everything he had done before. First, he made the weight. He hasn't always done that. And second, he was focused. He may have engaged in antics during the run up of the fight, but during fight week, it was observed that he was mostly businesslike. He was calm for him. He knew exactly what the stakes were for his career, and he acted accordingly. Also, he fought a very disciplined fight. Even when he had Barrios hurt, he knocked him down in the first round. He stuck to the game plan. And uh, and another thing that was different, his major weapon was the right hand instead of the left hook. He landed so many right hands against Barrios. And fifth, while he averaged half as many attempted punches versus Barrios in his last 5 fights, here he ended up throwing 211 more total punches. So he let his fists fly. Basically, it was opposites day, and Ryan Garcia rose to the moment. And then you have to look at Barrios. Where was the jab? He was supposed to work behind his jab. He tried just 17 jabs around, while in his previous 5, he attempted twice as many, 34. He had averaged 54 punches thrown per round in his previous 5 fights, but here he averaged 27. Again, half that amount. He also didn't test Ryan's vulnerable chin. 71% of his total connects were to the body. And he looked slow. He looked stale. He looked far older than his real age of 30. I remember you texting me early on in the fight, and you declared him a shot fighter. And he definitely looked that way. And the good karma for Ryan Garcia extended to his dad. He was calm. He gave good instructions. He did a good job. Ryan Garcia couldn't have asked for a better outcome. And while many predicted him to win, I don't think anybody expected him to throw a near shutout.
Right.
Now, anybody who's listened to the show over the years, you could fairly say that Ryan Garcia has a spot in your personal axis of evil, along with Jake Paul and Dana White. But after watching him Saturday, you went to social media and you were very gracious. You gave him credit. Could you expand on that?
Well, you just said it all, and I don't want a monologue. You just did a great job. He did everything he needed to do. He also comported himself before the fight with the weight and the way, most of what he had, except for the little thing with Joe Goosen. During the fight, focused. After the fight, a gentleman, did all the right things, said all the right things. So I have nothing to say, but obviously they set this up for him. Everybody wanted him to win, the powers that be in pugilism, to
Yep.
fight Devin Haney. He did his part. But I will say, part of my jobs over the year for different organizations was to grade fighters, pick fighters, grade fighters. Ryan will never be, in my opinion, a great fighter because he has too many fundamental flaws. But if he chose to work on, and I would say, hey, his dad did a nice job, but get somebody that knows a little bit more of the X's and O's and improve a few things, he could be a really good fighter. I don't see that happening because he's a wealthy kid. He cares probably more about social media than he does boxing. Right opponent, right time.
Mhm.
Congratulations. Let's go to the undercard.
Yeah, there was a four-fight undercard, and in those fights, Amari Jones scored a fourth round TKO over Luis Arias. Bektamir Malakuziev, also known as Beck the Bully, stopped Sena Ekbeko in the seventh. Nahir Albright, he fought Frank Martin to a draw. And Gary Antoine Russell retained his WBA super lightweight title by unanimous decision over his mandatory challenger, Andy Hiraoka. But the big news from the undercard was the cancellation of the fight between IBF 140-pound champ Richardson Hitchens and Oscar Duarte. After having made the day of the fight weigh-in under IBF rules 10-pound maximum, he only gained 8. Hitchens reportedly fell ill and the fight ended up being canceled. This development prompted several boxing insiders to come out in favor of same day weigh ins, something that you've supported for many, many years. And the proof of that was driven home when I posted a couple of clips from previous shows in which you and our guests talked about the return of same day weigh ins. So, for those who haven't heard why you feel this way, tell them now.
Well, I mean, it's just the fact that when the idea came out, it made sense. And I remember saying to Margaret Goodman and probably a few others, people with the commission, that I felt that it would end up being a bad thing, that fighters would take advantage of it. I didn't think it would ever be to the extent that it turned out to be. But then with the UFC strength and conditioning people, and then it has become a thing where fighters are just as concerned about the weight and rehydration than they are the fight plan, the game plan. The fighters that know about it, and some really excel in it. And then you get in a situation where, let's say, a fighter who does it the old-fashioned way comes in right on weight, and then his opponent's 25 pounds heavier. So it's has all kinds of flaws. It's not healthy for the fighters. It dilutes and pollutes really being the best at your weight. So I just don't like it, and hopefully I don't know if anything will be done about it because weigh-ins are so popular. There is a way to do it. They could do it and make it work. We'll see if they want to.
And that really is the nut right there. Whether
I
they
remember saying it to Mark Ratner too, even all the way back to telling Ratner my thoughts on it, back in the day. So it goes way, way back. But yeah, we'll see if there are any changes, though. I kind of doubt it.
Well, switching subjects, this past Sunday, our friend and friend of the show, Tom Yankello, was working the corner of Atif Olberton on the undercard of the Claressa Shields Franchon Cruz DAZN rematch. And while the result was a first round corner retirement win for Olberton, the circumstances by which it happened were really, really scary.
Yeah.
Moments after the bell ending the first round, Joseph George, the opponent, walked to his corner, sat on his stool, and then suddenly collapsed. He was unconscious for several moments, but thankfully he was revived and he was sent to a local hospital where he was reported to be in stable condition. And the good news is that he was released from the hospital the next day. According to promoter Dmitry Salita, he was told by George's trainer that the fighter gets very nervous before fights, and before this particular fight, he didn't eat anything at all day. Does that explanation fly with you?
I was just a little 4 round club fighter, and I was scared to death typically when I was going in the ring, and I didn't eat either, but I never passed out. I believe this. It was a neurological incident of some sort. Don't know why. Hopefully, they did some MRIs and some serious testing to prevent something in the future from happening. Um, I think, and again, we need to get somebody on that's uh, knows the exact rules and laws. I thought it should have been a no contest
Right.
because the doctor stopped it because of a medical result which had zero to do. I mean, it's not like if it had gone 6 or 7 rounds and he was taking punishment, totally get it. Um, and Yankelo's fighter's a good-looking prospect too, but had nothing to do with him. Zero, less than zero. Was some medical thing that happened. And they should have ruled it a no contest. One other quick thing before we go to the break is they should have been a little. There should have been more urgency, in my opinion, in the way they handled it there.
Mm.
I mean, I would have had an ambulance. Of course, maybe the ambulance was there, the stretcher there. Get this guy out on a stretcher and get. I mean, he passed out.
He was
So,
unconscious.
so that's my opinion. I hope he's okay. Thanks for that update on him. Anything else before we go to break?
Yeah, I want to give credit to Olberton because of the way he handled the situation. He was happy with the win, of course, but he was concerned for his opponent. He said he prayed for him and he told him he loved him once he recovered. All credit to him for how he behaved, and all credit to our friend Tommy for getting him prepared for this fight and getting the victory.
Right. Yeah. All right. We are going to go to break, and when we come back, one of the great bantamweights of all time, hailing from Laredo, Texas, Orlando, Canizales, joins us after this.
I got two options. Option one, I can accept defeat. Option two, I can get up. I can get tougher. I can get faster. I can get stronger. And then I go get mine. I made my choice. Have you made yours?
Back on In This Corner, the podcast, a buck 82, and joined by a fighter who I think, even though he Hall of Famer, brilliant career, I think one of the great bantamweights that I've ever seen, still I think underappreciated by a lot of boxing people, probably because he's such a great, he's the opposite of me, quiet, shy guy outside of the ring, but what a career he had. Born November 25th, 1965 in Laredo, Texas. He turned pro August 25th, 1984, if this is correct, at the Riverdale Mall parking lot in Laredo. Stopped Juan Perez in 2 rounds, and he went on to become just a phenomenal bantamweight. He won his first world title July 9th, 1988. Really one of the last 15-round fights that I think was scheduled. Stopped Kelvin Seabrooks in round 15. Vacated the title in 1994. 16, that's a record. Successful defenses of that bantamweight championship. Finished up 55-1, 37 KOs. International Boxing Hall of Famer Orlando Canizales joins us. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
No worries. Now, and Lee'll get into a lot of the stuff, of course, with your brother and everything. But I want you to take us back to growing up there in Laredo and tell us how you got into boxing in the first place.
I mean, I started boxing because of my brother. My brother Gaby, he's older than me. He's 5 years older than me, and he was the one that started boxing. He started boxing first. He had like maybe 5 amateur fights, and then one day I just he told me, hey, let's go to the gym, and so I went to the gym with him, and the rest is history. I mean, I started to train with him, and and I started boxing because of my brother Gaby.
How was your amateur career?
I won. I had 120 amateur fights. I won 108 and lost 12.
Hmm.
Okay. Where did you, and we're going to talk about this because I absolutely love your style. For fans out there watching today, this guy's a little bit Chocolatito. He's a little bit Lomachenko. He's got a little Bam, or I should say, those guys have Orlando Canizales in them. And we'll talk about the style. But where did you develop your brilliant style?
I just, by myself. I mean, I just, I train in the gym, with the angles, the pivots, and it just, it came out natural. I mean, I saw nobody. I mean, I see nobody. And like I said, it was a natural thing that I was doing.
And you do it with speed, execution, and power using what I call DLT, distance, leverage, and timing. When you're watching fighters today, and yes, there's some that I just mentioned, that do it, but do you think your style, the way you fought, it's almost a lost art? I don't see many guys doing it.
Well, no, yeah, yeah, of course not. I mean, there's maybe very few people have done it. Maybe Duran did a little bit like rolling with the punches, and maybe a little bit of Duran, but not really like the angles. I mean, nowadays it's only Lomachenko and Bam are the ones that I've seen uh, do it. But yeah, not many fighters do it.
And you did it fantastically.
Thank
When
you,
you were
thank you.
learning to box, how soon after you started the process of learning did you realize you were really, really good?
Well, I mean, I started at the age of 10. So, I mean, for me, at the age of 10, for me, I was just doing it just to do something after school, just for fun. I mean, I didn't really took it serious until maybe when I was 16, 17, and 18. I got more serious about it because, yeah, no, because at the age of 10, to me, I mean, I don't know how good I was. People would tell me I was good, but I mean, they told me when I was 15, 16 years old that I was good at it. But I mean, back then we didn't have any, videos or anything like that or to record me. But anyways, yeah, people would tell me that. But like I said, I would just like, I would just say thank you, But yeah, but to me, it was just like it was a pastime for me before as I was a beginning.
Did you model your style after anybody?
Uh, Well, I used to look at Muhammad Ali, Sugar Leonard, and Roberto Duran. Those were my favorite fighters back in the day. I used to look up to them, and those are the only fighters that I look up to them.
It's interesting that you mentioned Roberto Duran because when your brother Gabby beat Richie Sandoval to win his first bantamweight title, Gil Clancy said he absolutely looked and fought like Roberto Duran, and that's a great compliment.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, no, my brother, he had that beard and look that. Yeah, he looked a little bit like Roberto Duran the way he fought. Yes.
Well, once you turned pro, the first time many of us saw you on a nationwide basis was when you fought Paul Gonzalez on CBS. And at the time, Gonzalez, who was a gold medalist in the '84 Olympics, was placed on a very fast track because he said when he turned pro that he wanted to win world titles in a then record 6 weight classes. So just before meeting you, he won the North American flyweight title against Alonso Gonzalez, and it was only his third pro fight. And on paper, you were just considered as the next step in that process. You ended up losing a 12-round decision, but you scored the fight's only knockdown in round 3. What do you remember about that fight? One storyline was that it was outside.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, I didn't know. They never told me they was going to be outside or
Mm.
outdoors. I didn't know that, so I didn't get prepared. I wasn't ready for that type of climate or that type of situation. And for me, it was hot. I mean, I just felt my feet were just really the canvas was super hot, and it was like I mean, no excuse, I lost. I mean, I lost fair and square, but yeah, but I know it was going to be outside in the heat.
Reports said that you had blisters on your feet.
Right. Yes. I mean, like I said, it was in the summer. I mean, like I said, it was hot, And like I said, I didn't prepare. I was training indoors, and I thought it was going to be inside. And I said I never trained. I didn't train outdoors, so I wasn't getting ready. I didn't prepare to fight in the hot in the heat or anything like that.
Mhm.
So it's a different environment.
Well, the two of you met nearly 4 years later, and by this time you were the reigning and defending bantamweight champion. Not only did you defend that loss or avenged that loss, but you took him out in less than 2 rounds. And worse yet for Gonzalez, that ended up being his only shot at a world title. How sweet was it for you to get revenge for that first fight?
I mean, it was very sweet. I mean, it was the first my first time that when I fought him in the when I lost to the NBF. I mean, I was still young. I was beginning. It was my 13th pro fight. And the second time when we fought, I mean, I was a world champion. I mean, I was a different fighter back then. When I was a world champion, I had a different mentality, and nobody, and that, like I said, nobody's going to take my title away. So I was very positive. I believe in myself, and I knew I could beat him. So, and I went with that. be- Before the fight, I went with that mentality that I was going to win that title, the belt. I was going to retain my title.
Well, the initial loss to Gonzalez would be your last for a very, very long time, more than 8 years, in fact. During what would be a 28 fight winning streak, you became the new IBF Bantamweight champion by stopping Kelvin Seabrooks in the 15th and final round in what would be one of boxing's final 15 round championship fights. What do you remember about that fight? And could you describe how you felt when you were declared the winner and new champion?
Well, I mean, well, that was my goal was to be a world champion, and when they called me to for the fight, I mean, I was so excited that yeah, because I was fighting at 115, I had to move up to 118 to fight for that title. But regardless, I mean, I took the opportunity, and after the fight, I mean, I was just so happy and elated that I was, I was a world champion because, like I said, my goal was to win a world champion, and if I accomplished that goal.
You were champion for more than 6 years. And during that time, there was a 3 month period in which you and your brother Gabby were both bantamweight champions. You held the IBF title, he held the
Yeah.
WB.
Right,
How
correct.
special is that distinction?
Well, I mean, they're special because we were the first ones, and to what like I said, we're not the only ones, but now we were the first ones to win the champion at the same, be world champions at the same weight at the same time, and it's very special that to be the first ones in the whole world. It's pretty amazing.
Now, silly question, but somebody asked me, so I'll ask it. Was there ever any talk of you two fighting each other?
Yeah, there's plenty of times that they mentioned that fight, but no, of course not. I was never gonna fight my brother. I mean, I respect him, and that fight was never gonna happen.
Great sparring, though, I bet you guys had.
Oh yeah, we sparred tons of. I mean, 1,000 a round. We sparred plenty of times. I mean, every day, almost every day. Yeah, we sparred many times, but yeah, but that's about it. We
Yeah.
would never fight.
Yeah, kind of like the Klitschko brothers would say. In this corner of the podcast, chatting with Hall of Famer Orlando Canizales. Continue, Lee.
If you were to pick one of your fights for fans to watch to see you at your very best, what would it be and why?
Uh, mm, I would say maybe when I fought the first time with Kevin Seabrooks.
That's my pick,
Yeah,
right?
that's the one you told me when I was, yeah.
Yeah, because that one I saw I was like rolling with the punches. I was doing the angles, sidestep, and all that. You can see a little bit of everything. In the other fights, I didn't do much. I mean, because of styles, and but in that one, I did pretty much about everything in the first fight.
And you executed so wonderfully in that fight. Gil Clancy was extremely impressed by your use of angles in that fight. He said
Right,
repeatedly that you use those angles to hide from
right.
Captain Seabrooks.
Yeah, well, I was bobbing and weaving, and then I would see when he would throw the left hook, I would go underneath and pivot, and and pick my shots. And yeah, like that was a pretty, it was a pretty good fight for me.
Well, Smitty has said that he would be in favor of a return to 15-round championship fights, but only if they involved elite fighters competing for an undisputed championship and if both fighters agree to it. Would you be in favor of a return to 15 rounders under those conditions?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard, like right now, because uh, that's why a lot of fighters get injured because you go after even 12 rounds, you get injured, but those three extra rounds after you're super exhausted and tired, I think it's just it's too much. It's
Okay.
too much punishment for the fighter.
Yeah. You, as I mentioned before, you held the IBF Bantamweight Championship for more than 6 years, and in the process, you broke Manuel Ortiz's record for the most consecutive bantamweight title defenses in a single reign. He had 15, you had 16. You specifically said along the way that you wanted to break that record, and you got it after outpointing Sergio Reyes in October 1994. How proud of that accomplishment? How proud of you? Um,
Well, I mean, it was a great accomplishment. And my goal was not only to be world champion, but after I defended my title several times, I said, I told my manager, Bob Spagnola, you know what, I want to break that record. I want to continue, defending my title and break that record because I could easily move up to another weight and challenge another fighter and win another division title. But, but my goal was to break the record. So I stayed in bantamweight for what, almost 7, 8 years, whatever. Like I stayed there to just to break that record, which thankfully I was able to accomplish that goal.
you
16
know,
successful defenses of a title is pretty amazing.
it really is. And in order to break that record, you had to keep making 118, even when that process became extremely difficult. How hard was it for you to squeeze down? And how did you have to go to extremes to do so?
I mean, it was very difficult in the maybe the last couple of fights. Yeah, but it was hard for me to make that 118. But a lot of sacrifices. I mean, like I said, I had to do a lot of sacrifices to be able to make that 118. But yeah, if there's a will, there's a way, and I was able to make it. And
Were
thank
those
God
same
that
day weigh-ins? Were they doing same day weigh-ins then?
no, there was
Day, be-
it was a day before
day before?
before a day before. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Lee, before you continue, it just made me think, my little brilliant 3-year career, I fought as a bantamweight, of course, on Miami Beach. And I remember when I would study, when I'm thinking, if I ever got really good, who would I have to deal with? And I remember looking at film or watching Jeff Chandler, Orlando Canizales. Nah, I think it's time to quit and become a broadcaster. But go ahead, Lee.
Well, after you vacated the title, you moved up to 122 and you fought WBA champion Wilfredo Vasquez before your home state fans in Texas. The
Right.
bout was on HBO's After Dark Boxing After Dark series, and though you lost the fight, it was only by split decision. What
Right.
do you recall about that match?
I thought I won that fight. It was a close fight, but I guess I started late. Um, but even though I think I wanted the fight. It was a close fight, but no, the judges saw it different. But Rufo Vasquez is a tough guy. He's a good puncher, and it was my first fight at 122. No excuses, but like sometimes people to try to before you go to fight for another title, you fight at just a preliminary or to get a feeling at that weight. But it was my first fight at 122. But like I said, it was a good fight. Like I said, like I said, I thought I won, but the judges saw it different. But
Yeah. Your last victory as a pro was a 6 round corner retirement against Richard DeJesus in June 1999, a win that allowed you to avenge a previous majority decision loss to him 6 months earlier. How satisfying was that win because you avenged?
right, I mean, it was very trying. But even then, I thought the first fight, I thought I won. I mean, I don't know why. Yeah, I thought that the first fight I fought with Richard De Jesus, I thought I had won that fight, but oh well, the judges saw it that different. But Yeah, but second time, yeah, I stopped him, and of course, every time you the rematch and you win, it's a sweet revenge.
Very, very
Is
much.
there anybody that got away during those, during those years, during those 16 successful title defenses? Anybody that you wanted to fight, but the fight just didn't materialize?
Well, I fought Junior Jones, but later on, in at 122, we could have fought at 118, but that fight never happened. So, but Junior Jones at 118 later on. I mean, we fought at 122 later on.
When did you know? What was it that because you got when you got out, you fought. You fought a few more years after these fights we're talking about, but then you got out. What was it in your body, in your mind, in your spirit that you said, "Hey, it's time to call it a day after a brilliant career"? What was it that went first, so to speak, or what made you realize that it was time to go?
Yeah, well, when I was training, fight for my last fight with the last time I fought it was in Philadelphia at
Was
the
that
Blue
Toledo? Was
Horizon.
that the Toledo
Yeah,
fight? Yeah,
yeah. When I Frankie Toledo, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was hard for me to make it 126, and just my body wasn't like it wasn't there. I mean, like the motivation wasn't there anymore. I think I think I had enough, and I thought I said, you know what, I think I should start doing something else, and I thought that was my last fight, and I retired after that one.
Well, you are a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame's class of 2009. And first, paint a picture for me. Where were you and what were you doing when you got the call from the hall?
I was taking some courses at the TAMU, Texas A&M International University here in Laredo. I was taking some courses, and I got a call from Mr. The executive director from, and he
Ed
told me that
Mhm.
yeah, if Mr. Roby, yeah, he called me and said, Orlando, he introduced himself as that and you being nominated to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. I was like, oh, really? I was so excited. I was so excited. I left the class and I went home to tell my parents. Yeah, I was so excited. I just left the class to tell my parents. I was so happy.
Yeah. You seem to be a very calm guy in public, but your speech at the Hall of Fame was described as emotional and heartfelt. Describe to us how it felt to be up on that stage and delivering that speech on that day.
Very, very emotional. I just thought about it, I still get emotional. No, I just that I was just happy that my parents were still alive to witness that, and I was just so happy and excited that that all my hard work and all my sacrifices were getting recognized, and that, like I said, it was just a no, amazing feeling.
What do
Hmm.
you think of boxing today? I go on and I look at your posts from time to time. I know you keep up with what's going on to some degree. What are your thoughts on this world of boxing today?
No, I don't know, it's just like it's totally. I mean, not well, different in some several ways, but back then, when people now they're unifying titles, or even like Jake Paul, like he fighting guys with you know for a title or for whatever, and he's not even ranked, or they're sanctioning. I mean, he's sanctioning fights, and also like Ryan Garcia fought for a title when he just lost with against Rolly. I mean, it's totally different. Back then, you have to come up with the rankings and be at least ranked in the top five or top 10 or whatever, and to get a shot at the title. But now it's totally different.
What I
I guess
say,
it's all
Orlando,
money. It's all about money.
what I say all the time, Orlando, is, people tried to, and it didn't work with me. They tried to sell me on the idea, oh, you're getting new people to watch boxing, but you're not telling people what boxing's really about. I think all this stuff that you describe has cheapened the sport. Yeah, there's a lot of money, but they've cheapened the great accomplishments of people like you, who, in my opinion, did it the right way.
Well, yeah, but but people don't see it that way, and they don't really care. They're just like, hey, They just want to see, the ratings and big money fights, and that's at the bottom line. That's about it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they look at. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's the
Well,
way it is.
tell us what you and Gabby are doing these days.
Well, Gabby's retired. He was working with a state boxing commission of Texas, but he retired. He retired, I think, like a year ago, 2 years ago. So now he still keeps in touch. I mean, trains and he works with kids, but not here in Laredo. He lives in the port, suburb of Houston. He works with kids over there, part time, and then that's all he does. And for me, well, I work for the city. I run a boxing gym here. I'm the supervisor and I run the boxing gym here for the city. So yeah, I mean, life's been good after the boxing.
Good, good. And I'll end it with you like I ended on my television show with fighters all the time. How does Orlando Canizales want to be remembered as a fighter and more importantly, as a man?
That's a good question. Well, I want to be like recognized or not recognized, but like remember me. They remember me as one of the best fighters in the world. I mean, like I'm not saying I'm the best because there's been a lot of great fighters in the bantamweight division, but like I said, I want to be you know want to be remembered as one of the best fighters, bantamweight fighters in the world. And as a human being, well, I'm a great person. I'm there to help out people in every way I can, and especially kids, and to keep them off the streets.
Well, as host of the International Boxing Hall of Fame, I saw you there some years back. I hope we get you there again and you come hang out with us again at the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Will we see you again soon?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, I'll get back there again. I've been wanting to go, but for some reason or another, I can't make it. But hopefully soon I'll make it. As a matter of fact, I was recently they called me. I'll be inducted into the Atlantic City Hall of Fame in September this year. So I'm looking
Congratulations.
forward. Thank you. I'm looking forward to that one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Well, I tell you, boxing fans of yesteryear, if you have eyes, you already know this, but for youngsters, go to YouTube, put in the name Orlando Canizales, put in the Seabrooks fight, especially the first one, and any of the 16 title defenses, and you'll say, what the? Is that Chocolatito? Is that Lomachenko? Is that Duran? Is that Bam? No, it's Orlando Canizales, Hall of Famer from Laredo, Texas. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me, having me. Thank you, appreciate it.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back and wrap things up right after this.
I got two options. Option one, I can accept defeat. Option two, I can get up. I can get tougher. I can get faster. I can get stronger. And then I go get mine. I made my choice. Have you made yours?
Back in this corner of the podcast, a buck 82. Well, we cross Orlando Canizales off the list. I really hope, though, that, and I don't know as part of the editing process whether you're going to put up any footage or not of him. I know you'll put up pictures, but I really hope people get a chance to watch him because he was, I won't say ahead of his time, because you had guys, like Willie Pep and Lochi and others that were tremendous guys, movement and, other fighters in and around that. But people think today, you think of Lomachenko and you think of Chocolatito and you think of Bam. And there's just very few guys that fight like that. Everybody is into one of the reasons why I critiqued Shakur Stevenson, as brilliant as I think he is, that Philly shell and everything that prevents you from doing a lot of the offensive stuff that a guy like Canizales, Lomachenko, Duran, and others do. It takes away your offense. It's we'd have to, we'd have to have different guys on like Tommy helping me explain it. But you and I've talked about it. But I just
Mhm.
hope people watch him because
Yeah.
I would pick him to beat Bam myself. I know it's two brilliant fighters, different times, just because Bam's never seen anything like him, you know?
Yeah, I would agree if there was a fantasy fight between the two of them. Right now, at this point, I would pick Orlando Canizales because he fought better opponents to this.
Yeah.
He was a 15 round fighter. He showed that he had that kind of stamina. And just, they're literally mirror images of each other. Bam's a southpaw, Orlando's a right hander, and they do a lot of the same things. It would be a very high level. It would be a fight that appeals both to those who want action and those who want nuance.
You know,
It's a brilliant
we didn't
fight.
mention it. Was there ever talk of him fighting Chandler? Jeff Chandler.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Chandler was out of the game pretty much by 84.
Or yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do a thing about.
He would have
So,
had to maybe come back or something like that.
well,
Yeah.
and he couldn't because of the eye issues.
No, no. But two guys around that time that are two of my favorite
Yeah.
bantamweights, and I'm glad we were able to have Orlando on the program. Okay, we're closing up shop here with you got all kinds of stuff. You've got nicknames, you got
Yeah.
baseball bats. I don't know what the hell you got going on here. I'm looking at this script that you have here. So tell me where we're at, where we're going with all of this.
Okay, so let's go through it step by step. Last week we asked viewers of the show to offer their own favorite nicknames, and a couple of them responded. One of them was Michael Matos. He came up with a name that I had on my own list but didn't say. Ronald Lobster Thermidor.
Okay.
That's a pretty clever nickname. And then there was an account called Baked McBride. He used to be called 80s boxing. He would specialize in 1980s boxing. That's my era that I really love. But Baked McBride came up with a nickname that I didn't have. John Flood, who was known as the Bull's Head Terrier or Terror, Bull's Head Terror. That's a very original nickname. I love original nicknames.
Yeah.
Uh, but when I saw that his account was called Baked McBride, I thought it was a rather significant personal coincidence to me because when my mom bought me a baseball bat when I was a wee kid, a little kid, and the name on the bat was Bake McBride, who was an all-star player who played for the Philadelphia Phillies. And when I saw that name, that just brought up that memory once again, and I thought I'd say a little something about that.
So an
But
esoteric thing from League Rose, he likes to toss those in every once in a while. All right, what else?
well, there are other nicknames that I wanted to mention last week, but didn't really think of doing it. There's some really silly nicknames like Adam the Swamp Donkey Richards, Henry Sugar Poo Buchanan, Andrew Foulpole Galata, Lance Goofy Whitaker. Now, Lance Whitaker was a 6'8" heavyweight. I think you did some of his fights, Smitty.
Yeah,
He was nicknamed Mount Whitaker for his size, but right in the middle of
six
his
foot
career,
eight.
6'8", very large man. But sometime during the middle of his career, he changed his nickname because he wanted to feature the lighter, more humorous side of his personality. So he went from Mount Whitaker to Goofy Whitaker. And the name Goofy was Goofi instead of Goofy. And he did it for a couple of fights. It didn't really stick. And then later on, he switched back to Mount Whitaker.
Yeah.
There are others like Joey Twinkle Fingers Hernandez. And we also neglected to mention a previous guest on our show who had one of boxing's most famous nicknames, and that was Butterbean.
Yeah.
So I know that you had some nicknames
Well,
that
speaking of people that have been on the show, one of our
yeah,
regular contributors, Regis Progray, Rougarou.
Rougarou,
He's
yeah.
on the show, and we forgot. Sorry about that, Rougarou.
Sorry.
And I think one of the great ones, and obviously because it was made into a movie, the Cinderella Man.
Yeah.
And you might
James
tell, as a
Braddock.
historian, tell the audience where that came from.
James Braddock.
Yeah,
James J. Braddock. He was one of the most unlikely winners of the heavyweight championship. He was a significant underdog to Max Baer. He did challenge Tommy Loughran for the light heavyweight title, and he lost a decision. But then his career kind of went sideways, and he lost fights, and he couldn't make a lot of money, so he had to support his family by working on the docks. If you've seen the movie Cinderella Man, you know the story. But then he got on a winning streak and eventually got a shot at Max Baer's heavyweight championship. Max Baer was a fearsome puncher, and he was a heavy betting favorite going into the fight. But James Braddock, on that one magical night, he boxed rings around Max Baer, and he won a decision. And he was champion for 2 years. But then he ran into the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, who took him out in the eighth round.
yeah, yeah.
But his story spawned
Right.
the iconic nickname, the Cinderella
That's
Man.
why I wanted to make sure we got that there. I had some others written down, but well, we're going to get out of here. I know you wanted to mention a birthday or two.
Yeah, a couple birthdays. We want to wish Hall of Famer Barry McGuigan a happy birthday. He turned 65 today. He's known as the Clonus Cyclone, or as the Irish pronounce it, Clúin Osh.
We got to
And
get him on the show.
yeah,
I've interviewed him. I got to get we definitely should get Barry on the program. We should
definitely.
rekindle him. We should have Wayne McCulloch on the same one and have them both on. And we won't probably be able to understand either one of them, but it would be fun in keeping with my half Irish roots. Yeah.
And
Any
then
other birthdays? There is another birthday, isn't there?
there is one, and you put up a post about him today. One of
Yeah.
the great in rings of all time on In This Corner, the TV show.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather turned 49 on our taping day, which
Right,
we tape on Tuesdays typically. We're taping today. He's 49, but not done yet. But not done yet.
right.
Because of course he's going to be in an exhibition with Mike Tyson,
Yeah.
and then a rematch 250 years later with the Pac-Man Manny Pacquiao, and we're not going to talk too much about that. But yeah, thanks. That in ring was done over 20 years ago,
Wow.
and Floyd did a great job of it. We even did some stuff we cut out, and he wanted me to do a lot more, and I was just trying to let him share some of those great defensive exploits that have made him. You know, I might not rank Floyd as high as some other people do all time, but defensively, he is on the shortest of short list, isn't he, with the greatest defensive fighters of all time?
Definitely so. And in the in ring, he kind of, gave us the keys to the kingdom as far as how
Yeah,
he does what he does. It's very efficient, and
yeah.
no one has done it better than Floyd Mayweather.
I have been all over the world when I've walked into gyms where they've been able to put it up on they would show it to the fighters in the gyms. Here in Vegas and other places, I've been in airports where people just run over and they'll show me that in ring. So many fighters. Oh, like an Andre Ward, he watched that and loved it and wanted to do his own. And Andre, by the way, had a birthday yesterday.
How about that?
And I remember he on his own dime flew into town to do the show and the in-ring. We did a classic in-ring. We did like 15, 20 minutes, something like that.
Hmm.
Interesting that right now we're working on repackaging a show with Roberto Duran, and I think Duran and I did, oh my gosh, he said he was only going to do 10 minutes. We ended up being in there about 45 minutes, and I
Wow.
ended up with a little bit of blood from the nose because he was speaking in Spanish, and I think he told me to go right, and I went left, and boom. It's okay getting red on you from Roberto Duran. But yeah, well, happy birthday to all those folks. And once again, thanks to Orlando Canizales, Peasley Grove, Smitty. So long, everybody.